So let's keep going with some of these more difficult ones to factor. So again, as in the last example, well, here, let's write it out again. So negative 2 x squared minus 7x minus 6. Okay, and what we need to do is we need to find numbers that multiply to negative 2 times negative 6. All right, so I'm going to write m for multiply. So they need to multiply to positive 12. And then they need to add to this middle number, right? So they need to add to negative 7. And again, when I say add, I mean like add or subtract, right? Like, because you could be adding a negative, but okay. So let's find some numbers that multiply to 12, right? That's kind of like where I start. So you might be thinking, okay, 6 and 2. No, 6 and 2 is never going to give me the negative 7. But what about 3 and 4, right? 3 and 4 seem like a good candidate. But the only way that you can multiply to this positive would be if these guys were both positive or if they were both negative, right? If they were both negative, that's going to be better for me because negative 3 minus 4 gives me my negative 7. So it looks like these are my two numbers. All right, so now what do we do with those two numbers? We are going to rewrite the negative 7 with these two numbers. All right, so let's write this again. So we've got negative 2 x squared, and then instead of a negative 7, we're going to write negative 3x, and then minus 4x, and then minus 6. Okay. Now, again, it wouldn't matter if those were switched around. It could have been negative 4x minus 3x. It wouldn't matter. All right, next step, we're going to factor these guys by grouping. So let's factor the first two here. And what we're going to do, we're going to look, okay, is there anything in common with 2 and 3? Well, no, so I can't actually factor out a number there. But I do actually want to factor out a negative. I don't really like having like the negative sitting out front here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just factor out negative 1. Okay? And then if I look at my x's, what I have is x squared and x, right? So I can factor out negative 1x. You could have also just wrote that as negative x. Okay, and then start your bracket, and now we're going to look back through. So negative 2x squared divided by the negative 1x I took out. So now that's going to be just 2x. Yeah, and then looking at the next part, negative 3 divided by the negative 1 is going to be positive 3. And then the x is gone. So there you go. So 2x plus 3. Okay, now moving on to the next one. So now, again, I don't like this negative out front. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to factor out a negative. And this time I can actually take a number too, because what goes into 4 and 6? Well, 2 does. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor out negative 2. And notice that kind of like becomes like my minus 2 when I do that, right? All right, and then start a bracket. And then what do I have left? Well, negative 4 divided by the negative 2 I took out becomes positive 2x. And then negative 6 divided by the negative 2 I took out, that becomes positive 3. Well, hey, that's a good sign, right? Those are exactly the same. We were hoping for that. So then now our factors, well, our factors are really the one that shows up twice, right? Because that's the one we're factoring out. So 2x plus 3. And then what we have left is negative 1x, or just negative x, same thing, minus 2. And there you go. That is factored. It also shows in the detailed solution on the site. You can also, if you like, factor a negative out of this thing, just so that we don't have the negative in front of the x. That's really just how it looks. It might be a bit better if we factor that out. But if you want, take a look at that on the website as well. But this would be good. This would be great for me. If you put that in as your answer, I'd be happy with that. All right, next one. So now, in this case, we've got x squared, and then you've got xy for our middle term, and then y squared. It's done the same way. It's just gonna look a little different in the end. But let's work through this. It's gonna be very similar. So let's find numbers that multiply going to multiply the 6 times negative 10. So in this case, that's going to be negative 60. And then we're going to find numbers that add to negative 11. All right, so maybe we're thinking for multiply the 60, 30, and 2. Again, same problem. Never get into that 11 doing that, am I? So what about 15 and 4? That's a good candidate, right? Because 15 and 4 multiply to 60, and 15 minus 4 is 11, so I'm probably in the right ballpark, but I just got to figure out my negatives and positives here, right? So I need to multiply the negative 60. So the way that can happen is one's got to be negative and one's positive. Okay, so I just got to figure out which one's negative and which one's positive. So in this case, it's going to be this one, right? Negative 15 and plus 4, because negative 15 plus 4 gives me negative 11. If I had those backwards, then I would have had positive. Yeah. All right, so now let's do our same thing we did in the last one. So we've got 6x squared. And then instead of the 11, we're going to rewrite this as negative 15. And then this time it's going to be negative 15xy, because that's the variable there, right? Or variables. And then plus 4xy. And then we've still got the minus 10y squared. All right. So now we're going to do our factoring by grouping, as we did in the last one. And it's all going to work out. So, okay, so now in this one, we'll say, okay, what's common to 6 and 15? Well, 3. So we'll write down a 3. And then what's common to x squared and xy? Well, just x. And then start my bracket. And then I'm going to go through again. So now 6x divided by 3x was 2x. And then negative 15 divided by the 3 I took out is negative 5. And then I divided out the x, right? So now I still have a y. Okay, so I've still got a y there. That's my first part. So now I'll look over at the second part. Now what's common to 4 and negative 10? Well, that's going to be 2. And what I'm going to do is when I factor this out, I'm going to take out, it'll be plus 2, right? It's like you're factoring out a positive 2. And then what about the x, y, and the y squared? So they have a y in common. All right, now start your bracket. Now what's left here? 4xy divided by 2y would be 2, and then an x there. And then negative 10 divided by 2 was negative 5. And then y squared divided by my y there was y. And then that is a good sign, right? I got the exact same factor on each side. So that's going to be one of my factors, right? That's the thing I'm factoring out. That's what's common to both. So I've got 2x minus 5y. And then what's left? 3x plus 2y.